What's the scariest childhood memory you can recall as a kid?
When I was a child, my family moved often, like a drop of water in a river, but most of my memories are rooted in Rhode Island. One clear memory, though, belongs to a house in New Vineyard, Maine. It was a large, empty house where we lived for 5 months while my father worked nearby. The day after my 5th birthday, I came down with a fever and was diagnosed with mononucleosis. Bedridden for weeks, I passed the time reading books my mother brought me. That's when I met Mr. Largemouth, a small creature with a large head, crooked ears, and an enormous mouth. He appeared one day, flipping through my books, and introduced himself. He told me he hid under my bed when my mother came by, saying he didn't want her to stop us from playing. At first, he just talked and explored my books, but soon he introduced games. One day, he led me to an empty room with a window. He said he liked to pretend there was a trampoline below and jump out. He encouraged me to try, claiming it was safe if I imagined hard enough. I hesitated, looking at the steep drop, and declined. His disappointment showed briefly before he hid under the bed for the rest of the day. Later, he brought me a box of knives, saying he'd teach me to juggle. Horrified, I refused. His face twisted into a scowl before he disappeared beneath the bed again. After that, I had trouble sleeping. He'd wake me at night, insisting there was now a real trampoline outside the window, and urging me to jump. I always said no. One day, my mother allowed me to go outside for fresh air. Mr. Largemouth was waiting. He led me to a deer trail in the woods, saying it led to a special place he took friends when they were ready. He assured me I'd be ready someday. 2 weeks later, we moved to Ohio. I didn't tell Mr. Largemouth I was leaving. As we drove away in the moving truck, I saw him in my bedroom window, silently waving goodbye, with a steak knife in his hand. I didn't wave back. Years later, I returned to New Vineyard. The house had burned down, leaving only the foundation. Out of curiosity, I followed the deer trail Mr. Largemouth had shown me. It ended at the New Vineyard Memorial Cemetery. Many of the tombstones belonged to children.